Step there. Good morning, everyone. My name is Calmetta Coleman. I'm Chief Operating Officer of the Chicago Urban League. Let's thank Deidre again for that national perspective. So I'm going to be moving quickly in the interest of time, and thank you all for bearing with us, but I'm going to be leading a panel discussion on activating wealth building in Chicago. So if you could join me in welcoming our esteemed panelists, Deputy Mayor Kenya Merritt, who oversees business and neighborhood development in the city of Chicago, Suheily Davis, Vice President of Global Inclusion at McDonald's Corporation, and Tyronne Stoudemire, who is Senior Vice President of Global Human Resources for Hyatt Hotels Corp. And a member of the Chicago Urban League Board of Directors. So I am told to tell you all that the mics are all hot. Okay. So
don't say anything crazy.
Yes, and so we will jump right in. Oh, before I start, I see that some of you already found the QR code. Sorry about that. I was keeping in mind that it was hot. So I see that some of you have already found this card on your chairs that has a QR code that you can scan to ask questions. I saw a couple in there, and I think there are things that we will get to already during the panel discussion. So we're going to jump right in. It's a question for each of you. From your vantage point, what does it truly mean to build Black wealth in Chicago? And what is needed to move wealth building from just being a vision to reality? And what impact does the current climate play into your perspective? We'll start with you, Deputy Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First, I'd like to thank President Freeman Wilson for inviting me here today. Guys, she is truly an advocate for Black folks in Chicago. What some of y'all might not know, I worked with this woman during the pandemic. She works tirelessly on our behalf. There were nights where I would get emails at 2 o'clock in the morning with her working, trying to figure out how we get capital in the hands of small business owners during the pandemic. And I know that that same work ethic still rings true even post-pandemic. So in terms of, I guess the question was, how would I define
True wealth building. What
true
does
wealth
that
building for me?
mean?
I think I see it in 3 areas, and I'm just going to speak specifically to my role in the city. One, certainly, I think we covered earlier today, which is asset ownership and home ownership. But also with that, the equitable valuation of home ownership for Black folks. The second is jobs. But more specifically, when we think about the future of work, and I talked briefly with Dr. Jackson about this earlier, and I'm glad that they're doing amazing work around workforce and career pathways. When we think about our economies of the future, where Chicago is primed to grow in specific sectors, whether it's the blue economy, whether it's tech, whether it's the green economy, how are we preparing our young people to be able to capitalize off the growth of those areas? And then last is just vibrant neighborhoods. And so as we talked about health equity, community safety is so incredibly important in terms of how people feel in order to be able to generate wealth on their own.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Should I repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
I'll chime in there.
Great. Thank you, Suheily.
Ditto to all of that. And I would say specifically to the part of how we do it, I think it is through what we're doing here today, which is strong collaboration between the nonprofit, the public, and the private sector to really focus on solutions-based initiatives that really drive that access to capital, that drive workforce development, and really help us focus on solutions-based approaches to economic mobility. And I guess I'll tackle, to not be redundant, the last part of your question, which is, what about the current climate? How does that impact? We've heard a lot about the challenges associated with the current climate. And yes, all of that is true. But I also think that it is at a time like this where the folks in this room can also work together to drive innovation. And I loved the thematically, Dr. McKinney mentioned it, and also Mayor Karen, this concept of better together. And I think about our founder, Ray Kroc. He has a famous quote that says, "None of us is as good as all of us." And I think that's so important in this moment right now. So I'd like to challenge us really, right? Yes, it is a challenging moment, and we can do hard things, and we can do hard things together, and we can do hard things well, and we can do hard things for our people.
Thank you.
Each generation pays it forward for the next generation, and all of us have been products of education. The key to success is education. I have to educate my children under pretense when they graduate college, they care for me in my retirement. That's my daughter's plan, and she got to help me out here. But the reality is that it's beyond education, it's also training. So I think we have to understand as entrepreneurs, as we work for corporations, we have to understand how companies make money. At the end of the day, if you don't know Hyatt, just what Hyatt heads and beds isn't enough. Right. You know, we buy everything. There is nothing we do not buy at Hyatt Hotel Corporation, period. We buy it all. I give a quick story of and the chart that you shared in your presentation was Baltimore has the largest black entrepreneurs in any place else in the United States. The scenario was we had an African-American female that sell bamboo toilet paper. Her toilet paper was so good till our guests were stealing the toilet paper off the carts, right? Really, I got video. I can't share it. In one of my presentations, I'm going to share it to share this toilet paper.
Some people may get caught in this room.
That's right. That's right. Make all the videos, right? But the reality is we're working with her to grow, her business, and it says, you're doing really, really well. We want to give you the region. Oh, Mr. Tyronne, I can't do the region. I said, so wait now, girl. I've been fighting to be a corporate for you to get this job. You got to help me out. She didn't have cash. That was the only part. She didn't have cash. So it came back and says, okay, let me figure this out. Had a conversation. We came back and says, what if we paid you a year in advance, right? She says, if you're going to do that, absolutely. So we paid her a year in advance. We also looked at the problem that we learned from the Urban League program with the entrepreneur program that we host every year is a Project Next. It was time to pay. Net pay was an issue, and it is still an issue today. We took that from her experience and from the Project Next project with Hyatt, and we had a conversation with our CFO about changing net pay from net 60, Andy, to net 10. Game changer.
That is great.
Game changer. So if you don't learn anything else today, take away from me, is go back to your organizations and have a conversation with your finance team about net pay. And mine was pretty simple because I said to our leaders now, when people make reservations for a hotel, we ask for a credit card. And when they check into the hotel, we ask for the credit card to validate the payment. We don't say net 30 then, we say now. So why would that be any different with a vendor or a supplier supplying goods and products to our hotels? Some of this is very simple and very logical, but we have to be courageous enough to stand up and have these kinds of conversations for our people, because that issue is solved for one, but it benefited every vendor within our system.
That's right.
That is
So
awesome.
we've got to keep that in mind, is that what is it? I'm a half glass full guy, not a half empty, right? And we've got to figure that out. There is a difference between education and training. Bishop Arsham Frazier told me, son, you train a dog, but you educate adults and humans. We've got to look at what education we hold. Black women hold more degrees than any other demographic on the planet, but yet they're still paid less than that of our white counterparts
That is right.
and have lesser jobs. You want something done and fixed? Now listen, I was raised by Ethel May Stoudemire. Carolyn Stoudemire is my mother, and I'm married to Valerie Beth Stoudemire, and Kennedy Joy Stoudemire is my father. My daughter. I'm surrounded by women. They shape my worldview. So I'm pro-women. You want something fixed, give it to a woman. Look at Karen.
Thank you, Tyronne, and kudos to the Hyatt for making that shift, which is beneficial to all the vendors, so that's great. Suheily, I love that you say that none of us as good as all of us, and so part of what we're talking about today really is collaboration, and particularly cross-sector collaboration in terms of addressing a lot of the challenges and disparities that we see. I would just ask each of you, are there specific cross-sector collaborations that you're aware of that you think are great examples, and where there aren't any, what are some of the barriers to people collaborating across different industries?
Yeah, I'll just chime in. For me, a great example is the area that I grew up in. I grew up in North Lawndale. I was here for the West Side. And we're starting to see a lot of collaboration in terms of folks working across multiple sectors to invest and really transform that area. From corporate partners like the Will Group that's doing amazing work by choosing to have their manufacturing plant, shout out to ComEd, who has partnered with the Will Group to have their manufacturing plant in North Lawndale, to the faith-based community, Lawndale Christian Development Center, who has doubled down to make sure that we're maximizing our vacant lots by increasing home ownership, to philanthropy that's working in partnership with the city to do investment in our commercial corridors, to our education friends that making sure that folks have access to childcare. And so for me, that is a great example of how we're working across multiple sectors to ensure that people that live in that community have the resources that they need in order to thrive.
It's a great example.
I love that. Similarly, I think in my world, we in 2023 launched an apprenticeship program with the city colleges of Chicago, where we have employees, as students, we recruited employees from city colleges. They worked 25.5 hours so that they'd be eligible for full benefits, working for us, training under our cybersecurity team as apprentices, learning all about cybersecurity while they spent the remainder of the week taking their course load at city colleges. And when they completed the program, they were able to have either an associate's degree or an advanced degree in apprenticeship, but also had working at McDonald's in their cybersecurity team on their resume. So whether or not they came internally to roles within McDonald's or went to other companies, you know, that work experience really helped create access to opportunity, which is, I think, the key to these programs. And basically, we have Chicago State in the room. We're similarly gearing up with a partnership with National Urban League that will allow us to work with Chicago State through their business executive program too. So I think, you know, the more that we can scale these types of programs and really change the trajectory and the opportunity that individuals have, I think we're moving in the right direction.
I think for corporations, we have to look at this, but from a D&I perspective, the workforce, the workplace, and the marketplace. Where's the talent coming from? Looking at what's available externally, what's available internally, promoting people appropriately, and then it's once they get to the workplace, how do we treat them?
Yeah.
We do a good job at corporations going out and recruiting, come work for us, this is the best, you're the brightest, etc. Then we get them in, then we treat them like mud.
That's right.
Right, that's a problem that corporations have to dive deeper. And I think in that, and one thing I think area for us to be very clear, this goes around the gap in compensation, is that I don't think that we as a group, as a culture of people, know how to negotiate compensation. Every job that's offered, there is a low, a medium, and a high. We always given that first ram of this is what the job pays, you can't get no more, I ain't giving you no, and it be black folks telling us that, by the way, who know that there's a medium and there's a high. So I think if we can help, we understand how to negotiate compensation, how to look at here's what I'm going to be offered in the next 5 years, here's where I want to be in the next 5 years. Our white male counterparts do it like we're drinking water. So I think that's a piece during the workforce, how you treat people, how you show up, benefits, compensation, time off, all those things have to be making sure they're looking at it from an equitable and equality perspective. And then the marketplace is critical for corporations to partner with organizations such as higher institutions to Chicago State, partnering with the Urban League, NAACP, Haraza, ASA. All these organizations are there to help us to grow, to retain, and to promote talent. So it's critical for us to partner with them and show that relationship. I had the honor and the privilege to work alongside Z. Scott when we did an MBA, Test and Learn, an MBA executive program, where we took MBA students and paired it with our executives at Hyatt, with our CFO, with our CEO, with our CMO, to give them that real practical experience on what it means to sit at a desk as a CFO and your stock is down. You've gone from a blue chip company down to non-investable. You know, those types of things, they have to hear that. So education is one part of it. That training is really important, that we're training people, giving them experience to be able to be successful. So all those partnership relationships, without them, we wouldn't be successful.
That's right.
Now that is great.
Can I
Yes,
just add
please.
really quick? And I think this goes back to like why we're here too, is the policy recommendations that were put forth. Like, it creates a roadmap. And so when we talk about collaboration and everyone coming to the table, I think what Mr. Stoudemire is getting at,
Tyronne, Mr. Stoudemire is my dad. I'm
Tyronne is getting at, and I think all of us has touched on this, is the collective will, right? Like what was presented earlier today in terms of some of the challenges that Black folks have are no different than what they were 60, 70 years ago. And so in terms of us moving the needle and working collaboratively, it's having the will and amassing, Andy and I were talking about this, the political power to be able to change and to shift.
If I could just build it too, in my book, Diversity Done Right, I've talked about will versus skill. We have created a lot of skill sets and competencies. We lack the will to really fight for our own and stand up. We think someone's going to give it to us, or I've earned it, I'm not going to have this conversation, I'm not going to prove myself. You still got to prove yourself. You compete with a global economy.
That's right.
My daughter speaks Mandarin today because in kindergarten, when she was checking Andrew Jackson Language Academy, because I knew that by the time she gets in the marketplace, the #1 language is going to be Mandarin. So to set her for success, we put her through that to make sure language, we got to do those types of things and look ahead. People are afraid of AI. I think, like you said, who said something about AI today?
Karen did.
That's critical. For us, we have hotels in China that's ran by all robots. There's not a human in the building. Right? So when we talk about being ahead, oftentimes we're late adapters. We need to be and we have innovators. American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and United are all looking for pilots. They have a mandatory retirement at 65. They need a minimum of 10,000 pilots. There's research to say that Black and brown kids, because of learning computer games at an early age, do a simulation a lot better, do better as pilots. Well, there it is. You got the data, put it in place, and getting our kids to be pilots and working and looking at the industry within itself is suffering. That's an opportunity to be a part of innovation, not a late adapter. Yeah. That's partnership with United Airlines and American and Delta's now going to partner with historical Black colleges, do aviation schools.
Yes.
That's partnership, and that's where we're going to leverage the most.
Yeah, and even in that, Tyronne, people still need to, so you've got Black and brown kids who are playing video games, but nobody is telling them that this could actually lead to a career, that this is the same thing that you do when you're trying to fly a plane. Nobody's telling them that. And it also goes back to the real world example that you gave in terms of starting salaries. Like, I know when my first job was as a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. When they offered me that measly $35,000, I didn't even know I could ask for more.
Yeah.
So,
You was excited.
I was excited. And I had nobody to tell me, you know, you can ask for more. So,
But Calmetta, to that point, we noticed that we had a lot of earlier in career talent coming into our space and just didn't understand how to navigate corporate America, right? If you're first gen, if you don't have that example. And so to the point about partnerships, we connected with a couple of our nonprofit partners to essentially come in and do a welcome to corporate America boot camp, right? This is what you should know about how to negotiate your salary. This is what you should know about in-office time. This is how you should read your cues. But really trying to pass that on so that we know how to navigate in these spaces that are increasingly complex and many times not necessarily built to serve us.
That's
Another example, in 2017, under the leadership of Audrey Lee Williams, who was here in the room, we had a program called Rise High. And this program was designed to look at youth between ages 16 and 24, qualifications, unemployment, and no education. So we're today, Audrey, I'm happy to say that we're just shy of about, I guess, maybe 1,300 to get 10,000 by 2025. So job well done. Thank you for your leadership in that regard. But in that,
stand up, Audrey.
Audrey, just stand and give a round of applause. Come on, give it up for Audrey. Right. My partner in crime. Thank you, Audrey. When we looked at that, we had an African-American male. The guy was genius, smart, bright, about 6'5". Everybody loved him at the hotel. He gets his first paycheck, and he does not come back to work. Everybody's calling, what happened to him? What's going on? What's happening? So forth and so on. And finally, he returned my call. He said, Mr. Tyronne, I cannot work for a company that steals from me. I said, steal from you? He said, this guy named FICA. Well, FICA been stealing from me for almost 60 years. So, but he didn't. I say that in jest and in fun, but the reality was he had no idea about taxes. Nobody in his home worked. Nobody understood that. Some of these are small things that someone said earlier, we take for granted because we sit in these seats and we've got these comfortable jobs and we've learned how to negotiate, but just that little piece. I said, well, son, let me explain this to you. Let me walk you through. He says, well, listen, he says, my mother is in prison. My grandmother is taking cancer treatment, chemo. I have 2 younger siblings. I make more money on the street than I make for Hyatt. Right? But the destination for that could be prison or death. Then what is your grandmother going to do and what is your siblings going to do? Right? So trying to meet him where he's at, try to be there. So here, son, what I want you to do, I said, take my cell phone number, and if you ever get yourself in trouble, you call me. Those are the kinds of things we're going to have to step in the gap for our youth to help them and show them a better way and a different way.
Right.
I'm not looking for applause for me, but we've got to do more than what we've done before. And then justice for one is justice for all. Those quotes that we live off by Maya Angelou, MLK, and Andy Young, all this, they were going through those issues is why those quotes came in place. It's up to us to activate and make sure we keep that alive. So those stories are real and they're there. North Lindale partnership with us. African American male, second chance program, gets a job at Park Hyatt, makes $10,000 in tips and is buying his first home.
Wow.
Not from his salary, from his tips.
Wow.
So you talk about he's got now a second home, he's got his own $10,000 down payment. I have a $10,000 and I got a good job. Not to say the doorman is not a good job. I don't want to
awesome.
say it's a great job. I wish somebody tipped me $10,000.
All right.
I digress.
So I want to ask you all, what is one bold or unconventional idea that you think needs greater attention, and specifically to scale the impact around Black economic equality?
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
start again.
just start.
So I have 2, if that's okay.
More ideas, the better.
Yeah, so first is, so we talked about capital and access to capital and the lack thereof for Black folks. But during the pandemic, with my partner sitting over there, we put together a capital program that was specifically focused on small business owners of color. And that came and went away and certainly supported thousands of businesses. And so now in this day and age, I think about what role can government play, specifically local municipalities, in the capital space. Can we play a role in terms of supporting organizations like IFF or CDFIs to underwrite loans or capital where Black folks can get capital from traditional financial institutions? The second bold idea, I think, is kind of happening in the city already with some very creative economic development experts. And that's the role that we can play in supporting cooperative ownership. And so where you have communities of folks that are purchasing land, buying buildings, buying businesses, is that an opportunity for us to dip our toe in and hopefully expand? I think that's another opportunity to grow.
We have to be willing to work together.
We have to be willing to work together. There are a couple of models already in Chicago, but certainly that is an area where I think there is opportunity to grow.
Thank you for that. Suheily?
This shouldn't be radical, but especially in this climate, it feels like it is. But if you think about the racial wealth gap, it is highly linked to student loan debt. And we know that Black and brown borrowers carry significantly higher balances. Eradication of student loan debt. Full stop, right? Eradicate it.
Yes.
That in combination with then free good public education moving forward would be a game changer. I mean, it would really change lives. So it shouldn't be a big, bold move, but I think
it shouldn't be radical, but it is.
Yeah.
We know that,
I would say that private institutions need to make deposits in Black banks, in community banks, in local banks, to be able to give low interest rate loans to entrepreneurs who can't get them from the bigger banks. I think that's what might be radical, but it's a smart thing. Taking $100,000 or $100 million and put into a local community bank would make a huge difference in entrepreneurship. I think the other thing for me, very self-servicing, is hotel ownership.
Yes.
being able to have and own your hotel is an amazing thing. So from McDonald's to Hyatt, we have, what we own and operate, what we franchise. Having a franchise McDonald's or a franchise Hyatt hotel is actually another way. So we put a program together, the ABCs for Hotel Ownership. We partnered with NABHOOD, which is National Association of African American Owner, Operators, and Developers. We partnered with She Has a Deal, which focus on women who are buying hotels, and then try to help finance those hotels. We even have a solution now that Hyatt Place and Hyatt Park is actually is more reachable. We have a new project called Studios. Instead of having $100 million to buy a hotel, it's 50. So half of that. So getting to do things like that where we have ownership. And once you buy one hotel, it says you have to buy a second hotel. Then the second hotel, you buy a third hotel. And then you have institutional wealth that you're handing down from generation to generation. Yeah. And what we've both seen at McDonald's and Hyatt is that sometimes our children do not want to inherit McDonald's or hotel. That's a problem. And primarily because they saw their parents work 24 hours a day trying to keep that business alive, has chosen not to do the same thing.
Yep.
That's something we can change as well, but that's a great opportunity. McDonald's has a program in place on how to buy at McDonald's and how successful that was. Had the privilege of working with Don Thompson when he was the CEO of McDonald's and the work that he did, and Pat Harris and the work he continues to do. And let's give it for Don Thompson, Liz. They're just celebrating their 8th year anniversary for Taste. I want you all to go by and celebrate them. Andy Sopp is here doing a remarkable job for black businesses. We have to support our own first.
Yep, that right there. So because Tyronne referenced McDonald's a number of times, Suheily, this next question is for you. How is McDonald's thinking about long-term investment in black communities, not just through internal inclusivity commitments, but also through sourcing, recruitment, franchisee development, social impact, and just what have you learned around that?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, it's an acknowledgement and an understanding by the brand that we, as a fully, very heavily franchised brand, we operate in over 100 countries, thousands of communities. And if I think about here in the U.S. specifically, we're over 95% franchised. Wow. And so we do not achieve the level of success that we have if we don't represent the communities in which we operate, right? And so what I like to say is, we are successful not just because we're in every community, but because we're of every community. And so knowing that, we really have to focus on what it looks like to create and maintain that equal opportunity to succeed across our full system. And for us, that's looking at our employees, like you talked about. For our restaurant employees, that means ensuring that they have full access to achieve, if they're working and haven't gotten a high school diploma, they can get a full high school diploma. If they have had a high school diploma, but want to go to college, that there is tuition assistance, not reimbursement, right? Assistance up front. And if you come into the restaurants and you don't speak English, we have English under the arches. So those things that will help improve your access to opportunity from an employee perspective, but really looking at the other parts, and we call it our three-legged stool, our employees, our franchisees, and our suppliers. And I love that metaphor because if one leg of the stool is a little off and a little short, it's not sustainable. And so it's the full success of our system that really enables us and drives our growth. And so for our franchisees, that means that we are, to Tyronne's point, intentionally seeking out, in this case, black franchisees to help power our system. That means that we're standing up a team, that we are standing up education, that we're talking about alternative sources of financing, that we're talking about access to capital, that team is being well-resourced and traveling around the country and meeting people where they're at, demystifying what it takes to come into our system and really telling it how it is, that we're engaging in partnerships like this. Our head of franchising, has the honor to sit on the board of the Urban League. So being really intentional about seeking out ways to ensure that our system is well representative of the communities in which we operate. And I can't talk about entrepreneurship without mentioning the National Black McDonald's Operator Organization that launched in 1972 and is the largest organization of black entrepreneurs. And so, yeah. And the strength that's in that system, they they don't just advocate for themselves and their communities, they advocate for the future franchisees coming into into the system. They provide mentorship. And because of the work of the franchising team, because of the work of the MBMOA, right now, today, our pipeline for future restaurant ownership is 73% diverse here in the US. Of that 73%, the percentage of people that are keys in hand, so what we call that, you've been through the whole program and you're ready to get a set of keys and open your own restaurant, 27% of that pipeline are Black future owner operators. And so it's very intentional. You have to, every act has to be very intentional and targeted and consistent, I think, to see the results.
That's great. Intentionality is critical. My timekeeper is flagging me, so I'm going to go to some of the questions that people have put into the system. This is a question from Ayana Simba, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Ayana asks, you all mentioned partnerships and mentorship for the corporate sector, but what about the same for policy and civic leadership? I'm looking at you, Deputy Mayor. But anyone who wants to speak to it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. I couldn't agree with you more. And just a shout out to Coffee Patterson, who leads the Impact program for Chicago Urban League. And so when we talk about opportunities for folks to grow as civic leaders, I think that is certainly an outstanding program where people can work across multiple sectors with folks that want to improve their city or improve their workplace. So I think there are certainly opportunities for people to plug into different organizations in Chicago. In terms of just like other mentorship around being civically engaged. One of the beautiful things about Chicago, from our corporate community to the public sector, I think everyone loves this city and want the very best for this city, so much so that folks get the tattoo of the flag on their bodies. And so I don't think that we're at a loss for folks just individually that would be willing to help and support for those that are looking for mentorship, that are looking to be civically engaged or considering the public sector.
Thank you for that. This is another question I think might also go to you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
It's from Cy Lewis, but of course anyone can respond. Clean energy, mostly led by CBOs, CAA, and NPOs. The training is critical, but the resources are scarce. Where does city and state government support this?
Yeah, so at the local level, we just relaunched the Department of Environment. We're very much laser focused on the green economy from the regulatory standpoint to also the business aspect. So our partners at World Business Chicago, we're leaning in how we can support companies that are looking to grow in that specific sector. So for those that are interested, we certainly have resources and grant funding available for people that are thinking about entrepreneurship in that particular field.
Okay. Did anybody else want to address that? Okay.
All you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Well done.
So I want to give each of you just a chance to say any last thing you want to say specifically about the importance or any way that we can really enable building Black wealth here in the city of Chicago. So in maybe 90 seconds, each of you.
I would take real quick. Mary Green, the Black Women Expo, is happening in the next couple of days. This is her 30-year anniversary.
Stand up, Mary.
Mary, is Mary here?
Oh,
Mary, that's my girl, that's Mary. 30 years she has been paving the space for minority-owned businesses, particularly women. She has over 400 vendors coming. Is it next week, Mary? I'm gonna get it right? August 1st. Well, that's pretty much next week.
It used to be in May. It used to be in May, though.
Used to be
It
in
did.
May. August the 1st. So those who have corporations, please make sure that you come and support, because there's going to be 400 entrepreneurs there with their, and some for their very first time displaying their products and their services. Go by and support. Get your companies to go and buy for them. That's what it's going to take. She's providing access. She's providing training. She's providing vendors in different categories. This is how we're going to build wealth, and this is how we're going to support, by sharing with one another. So sorry if I embarrassed you, Mary, but I got to go there.
I would say similarly, sharing. We have to fight any urge to gatekeep This is a time for community. This is a time for the collective. This is a time to be each other's keeper. This is a time to support each other. This is a time to think about what it is that you have access to that you can do. We don't have to solve for it all, but each of us needs to think about what is the one thing that that's within our control that we can do to help move this conversation forward.
I would just add that we're at a pivotal point, and I think that we're in a moment where it's incredibly important for us to step into advocacy and activism in terms of building Black political power. It's one of the things that he talked about in his presentation, that despite what's happening at other levels of government, like we're starting to see just some growth in other areas, whether it's at the state level or at the local level. And so how do we amass political power to ensure that all of the things that we've listed in terms of the policy recommendations, that we can double down on them, lean into them, and actually get them done. But it's going to take collective power to be able to do that.
Absolutely. So actually, I just saw a question from the audience that kind of is a follow-on to that, and it is, well, it's more of a directive. This person says they would love to hear thoughts on how to get this information to parents and CPS families, especially knowing the importance of early exposure and family influence. So, any ideas? It is. That's why I thought, let me ask that.
Yeah, I do love that question, and we talked about, the impact that we can make in terms of growing civically minded children, right, and leading with curiosity. So I don't have the answer, but as a CPS mom, I will mull that over a bit and maybe work on this team to think of some solutions. I know that we can each play an active role in our local schools in terms of who we bring in to speak, how we show up in the PTA and in different ways, so that kids really see the examples of what it means to have grown-ups that are fully engaged civically, and they grow up thinking there's no other way.
That's right. Yes, yes. Anyone else?
No, I think she
Nope, I think she said it.
Said it. Okay.
Conscious of the time.
Well,
but
great.
I would like to say, though,
please.
each of us are given 24 hours a day to do what we will. We can do something good or do nothing at all. In your next 24 hours, I encourage you to do something to be first kind to yourself and kind to others. Make a difference in someone else's life. Don't be selfish. Don't be self-centered. Do something for somebody else, because this is how the world is built. Our purpose really is to care for one another. Let's not leave anyone behind, and let's get behind this and be successful together.